People principle number 19. The patience principle. The patience principle says the journey with others is slower than the journey alone. For the friendship of two, the patience of one is necessary. And the question that I must ask myself is, do I take others with me even when it's inconvenient? By the way, when I wrote this relationship book, I can tell you, sometimes when people look at an author, they think that the author writes those things which he or she really is good at. When I write, I have to have about 4 or 5 timeouts. Kind of like, excuse me, I'm writing this because I know it's true, not because I'm good at this. In fact, when I wrote the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, 6 of the 21 laws I don't do well at all. In fact, I would rate myself average or lower than average. 6 of them. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I know I have to have a team around me. Are you with me? Because I'm not good at them. In fact, if you think you're good at all of them, you need a therapist around you. You need a real friend that cares for you because you're in deep weeds. Well, it's also true about these relationship rules, and this one here, this patience principle, this whole issue of taking people on the journey, you have to understand, I flunk this, okay? I'm not a patient person. When I was in school, what I hated more than anything else about school was review day, where the teacher would say, now tomorrow, we're going to review our notes for the last 6 weeks because we're getting ready for a big test, and we'll review the notes so we can get ready for the test. And I'd raise my hand and say, do I have to come? And she'd say, of course you have to come. Why wouldn't you come? Because I took notes the first time. Excuse me? If I got it, do I have to come? And they always made me come. And I hated it. I'd say, here I am, sitting in the classroom, did my stuff on the front end. Now I'm waiting for everybody on the back end. Hit the ball and drag Charlie. Hit the ball and drag Charlie. Hit the ball and drag Charlie. After a while, don't you just want to hit Charlie? This has been a hard one for me to learn. One of my leadership lessons as I learned about what leadership is I learned that leaders aren't the first to cross the finish line. They may be the fastest, but they reduce their speed so everybody else can cross the finish line with them. What leaders do and what leaders know is that the very fact that you're a leader is that you bring people with you. That's where the patience principle comes in. In your notes, I constantly cast vision for the people of my organization, and then I left them behind. Not a good thing for a leader. I had to learn to connect with people and develop patience. These are 2 critical steps in relationship building. Patience without connection, and the relationship lacks energy. Connection without patience, and the relationship lacks potential. Connection with patience, the relationship has energy and potential. And if you want relationships to last, you need both energy and potential. So how do you become more patient in relationships? Number 1, prioritize patience as a virtue worthy of developing. In fact, Aristotle said, the greatest virtues are those which are most useful to other persons. Nothing is more useful to other persons than patience. Number 2, understand that it takes time to build good relationships. Number 3, practice the exchange principle. We've already talked about that. Instead of putting others in their place, what do we say? Put yourself in their place. To develop patience, you need to appreciate other people, how they think, and be sensitive to how they feel. Every person thinks his problems are the biggest, his jokes are the funniest, his prayers should get special attention, his situation is different, his victories are the most exemplary, and his faults should be overlooked. That's just how we are. Number 4, realize that people have and create problems. When it comes to people, there are good news and there's bad news. The good news is that some people in your life are going to be the source of your greatest joy, and the bad news is that those same people may be the cause of your greatest problem. That's true not only at home, but also at work. And the higher you climb in leadership, the more difficult the problems. The findings of leadership experts Warren Bennis and Bert Nannis bear this out. They state, what we have found is that the higher the rank, the more interpersonal and human the undertaking. Our top executives spend roughly 90% of their time with others, and virtually the same amount of time concerned with the messiness of people problems. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Number 5. Identify areas where people need patience with you. Oh my goodness. Now this has helped me a lot. I'll pass this on to you because it's amusing to me, but it's really helped me a lot. Because I have a problem with patience with others, one of the things I have done is I have gone to people who love me the most, my inner circle, and I've asked them to give me ways that they have to be patient with me. It's very embarrassing. First of all, they always readily say, oh, yeah, we'll be glad to do that. That in itself tells a lot. In fact, what really bothers me is when they say, you need it in 5 minutes? In other words, they're not grappling with ways to think of how they have to be patient with me. They've got a list already. In fact, the other day I asked Linda after this lesson, I said, Linda, I mean, you know, you're my assistant. You're running my whole life. What areas do you have to be patient with me in? She just started rattling them off. I said, oh, not so fast. Shouldn't we think about some of these? And she didn't have to think about it. She said, here's just part of her list. I am constantly losing my glasses, my cell phones, my pens. And then she finally just says, John, you lose everything. If you've had it, you've lost it. If you find it, you'll lose it again. I have probably 30 pair of glasses. I have them everywhere. My answer to losing glasses is put them everywhere. So when you come through my house, you go through my house, well, Margaret probably is going to pick them up today because company's coming. That's always disgusting, too, because then I can't find them again. But if she just leaves them where they should be, you'll count a dozen, 15 pair yourself. Because it's just kind of like if you lose them, then don't carry them. Just wherever you sit, have some. Then she goes, I mean, this list doesn't, she said, John, anytime we're discussing planning, you want lots of options. That's very true. I like options. You don't know anybody that likes options as much as me. So when you say, we're going to do it this way, I will say, well, are there 7 other ways that we could do this too? Because you just never know when you need an option. Do you realize how much time it takes for her to give me all of the options I want in life? In fact, she's been with me now for several years, and now she'll proudly say, John, before we go through this, there are 5 options here for you. And she gets very proud, and then I'll find another 1 or 2 that I want. She said, I'm constantly changing my travel plans. Well, I do that. You just never know where opportunity is going to be. All of a sudden, opportunity's over there, so you got to go over there. I overschedule myself, and as a result, projects take longer than the time allotted. I hate to say no. Oh, my goodness. This morning, I had a request from some university, and I put yes, and then I scratched out and said, well, no. And then I wrote a note and said, well, maybe. And I handed it to her. Take care of that. Take care of that. Another one, she said, I want her to be able to call her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's part of the requirement. My sister have the cell phone on 24/7. So I stopped right now, pushed one button, she'd answer. Kate takes it to bed with her, has it all times. Now, I try not to awaken her much, but you just never know. Now, this list can go on and on. And when I looked at that, I thought, I'm a terrible person. But you know what that helps me do? Helps me be patient with the rest of my people. Because what I'm really realizing is I have a bunch of idiosyncrasies, and my team has to put up with those all the time. Number 6, recognize that all relationships have give-ups, give-ins, and give-and-takes. That's a fact. If you're in a relationship, you're going to have to give up some things, you're going to have to give in on some things, and you're going to certainly have to do the give and take. All relationships have difficult times. It doesn't matter how good they are or how long that they have lasted, and we can't always have everything our own way. We will experience areas where we have to give. The give-ups, for example, things I like to do but should not do at this time. When my children were small, because of the heavy responsibilities I had upon my shoulders of work and with kids, there was a period of about 8 or 9 years I gave up golf. Loved to play golf, but it's just one of those issues that you just have to set it aside for a time. And I said, I'll put this aside and give them the time they need, and then there'll be a time I can pick it back up. Give-ins. There are things I don't like to do, but should do at this time. For me, exercise. I can tell you that right now. And then give and takes, things we do for one another. You see, as I worked on this chapter, I got to thinking about my inner circle, the people closest to me who are integral to my satisfaction and success. Some of them are faster than I am. Some of them are slower. But with all of them, I try to do these things. Serve them. Let them lead and do it their way and assist them when it helps. Mentor them. Answer their questions, set an example, and direct or correct only when it will make a difference. Value them. Listen to their ideas, respect their positions, and never undermine their authority. And reward them. Take good care of those who take good care of you.